of how to make what they're promising and what they're outlining into a reality.
Right, and that's the real challenge, right? Because previous presidents have talked about efficiency in government and where this all goes. You got to actually make it happen. And my argument to the Republicans on the Hill here are, America has stood up in 24 and say they want to break through the establishment, the traditional bubble of Washington, D.C. They want a little bit of disruption. They want some fiscal sanity. And the way I put it is they want to ensure that compact with America, that families have to balance a budget, Washington has to balance a budget. And that reinstills some of the trust that this place has lost. Now, Elon, I think, is very unique in that he's an engineer. I'm obviously very partial to engineers. He's always looking for efficiency and redesigning a system. You have to know how the system works, right? Otherwise, you're just going to be a lot of talk and nothing's going to move on the Hill. So he's got to build a team around him that understands what can be done with executive order, what can be done on the Hill. And it's about structural. If you just say, we're going to cut a program here and cut a program there and find efficiency in defense, that's fine, but it's fleeting. What they want to do in their opportunity with the political momentum of this election is to build something lasting with a balanced budget amendment, taking on, maybe not tomorrow, but understanding the challenges of Social Security are real. I mean, everyone's Social Security benefits get cut 17%.
But Trump's already saying he's not going to touch Social Security.
And that's the challenge, getting over that political hump to get folks on the Hill to say, either we deal this in the crisis of 8 years from now, or we deal with it in a more constructive way today.
So you think that the incoming president is wrong when he says take entitlements, Medicare and Social Security, which, as you know, make up the vast majority of the budget, that they should be on the table?
They should be on the table. It doesn't mean they have to do it tomorrow, but they at least have to think constructively. Okay, we'll set up a commission, we'll set up guidelines, we'll set up metrics to say we're going to achieve.
Wow, you're really sounding Washington.
It is, but they need to start somewhere, right? Nobody even wants to touch this third rail. My argument is the American people. That's old way of thinking. The American people are saying, touch it, do it, fix this thing, because we don't want our benefits cut. We don't want Medicare to disappear.
Donald Trump added nearly $8 trillion to the national debt in his first term. What makes you think it's going to be different this time?
A little. I'm cautiously optimistic for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think he understood how Congress really fundamentally worked in 2017 and 2018. And the reasons Republicans lost in 2018, because they talked a big game and got nothing done. I think there's a different team he's surrounded himself with, a little more professional of a team within the White House itself. He's built a lot of better coalitions. He's more established in terms of the political aspects of what he wants to do on the Hill. And he has outsiders. And as much as people say, well, Elon is a billionaire outsider. First, I don't mind that they're billionaires. I like people that are successful. What is the difference whether they're a billionaire or broke? I'd rather have someone successful. And I like that it's an outsider and an engineer and not a politician and not looking for anything out of the game.
He's not that much of an outsider. In fact, one of the criticisms and the concerns is that he has billions of dollars tied up in government contracts. You don't see a conflict of interest here?
Everyone has a conflict of interest.
But that's like a pretty big one.
The guy's worth $450 billion as of today and this month. So I don't think he's doing it for the money. He's doing it for the bigger project and the bigger vision of America. He doesn't need the dollars. He really doesn't. So it's not about, oh, if I get involved in this, I'll get another little contract here or there. That's nothing to him. So I like the fact that he's, in a way, he's so rich, he's so removed from the potential financial influence of it. But this is a car crash, if you will, of financial crises coming. We pay about $1 trillion in debt this year. It goes to about $1.8 trillion in 10 years because our rates are so high now. So when those interest payments come due, $1.8 trillion, Social Security, Medicare. But you got to find efficiencies in government. You got to deregulate. You have to. They want to move Department of Agriculture out to the Midwest. I think that's great. They want to massively downsize the Department of Education and block grant back to the states. My big argument here is states have already found all these efficiencies that Washington's talking about. We've already done it.
Yeah.
Just copy, repeat.
I want to sort of talk big picture, more kind of philosophy. You did not support Donald Trump in the primary, as I mentioned. You said he didn't represent the Republican Party. He's old. He says crazy things. He doesn't have a strong record. What do you think now?
Yeah, look, I mean, not my first choice and not my second or third or fourth choice within the primary process, but obviously he won the primary. I never take back a single thing I've ever said. I think, in terms of moving the party forward, there were a lot of other great candidates that were out there. He won the primary, he won the nomination, and he won the vote handily of the American people. He's got to come through, right? At this point, it's about delivering. I think this term will be fundamentally different than the first term for a variety of reasons. He's not in his 5th year as president. He's kind of in his 9th, if you will, especially as leader of the party and the voice of the party. And all of that centers around being that disruption. People didn't vote for him because of his policies. They voted for him because he's still seen as an outside influence to disrupt, to break the establishment.
On immigration, I would think that maybe they...
Oh, no, sure. I mean, but it wasn't, that was more of they were voting against Kamala's policies on immigration, on open borders, on defunding the police, on all that kind of stuff. And that's where the Democrats kind of have lost it.
How do you fit in with the sort of MAGA Republican Party? You're not MAGA.
No, but I think most of the Republicans, I don't like those labels. The vast majority of Republicans have galvanized around their candidate to break through this kind of establishment here in D.C. We've always been a spectrum in the party. We've had moderates, we've had fiscal conservatives and social moderates and social conservatives. It's a huge spectrum, and it's a big tent, and it will be. It will continue to be. Trump is Trump. There's no Trump light. There's no Trump 2.0 coming up. I always say that Trump is who he is, because he's built up himself in the American psyche for 40 years. I mean, really, since the 80s.
Has he permanently changed your party?
Oh, no. No, definitely not.
You think it's going to bounce back to sort of regular conservatism and not
I think there's a lot more
populism?
Of that hardcore regular conservatism already in there, frankly. That traditional conservatism is already in there. He brings a different style to it, which I have a lot of issues with at times, to be sure. But fundamentally, on principle, they're still right there. The bigger DNA problem is with the Democrat Party.
You were governor during Donald Trump's first term. You tangled a bit. As you leave and your fellow Republican Kelly Ayotte takes over, what's your advice to her on how to deal with him?
Yeah, I've never worried about dealing with Trump. As governor, I focus on New Hampshire. We call it the 603, the live free or die state. Do right by the people of New Hampshire. Call the balls and strikes like you see them. Give credit where credit is due, and call criticism where that's due as well. And if you're fair and even-keeled about it, not mean-spirited and not doing it for political purpose, people understand it, they'll galvanize behind it, and you take care of what you got to take care of, which is the 1.5 million people in New Hampshire.
What's next for you?
I don't know. I left a resume off at the front desk. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Private sector. I'm excited to go into the private sector, but believe me, I'll still be itching.
Here it is. Why is there nothing on it?
I've done 1,000 national interviews. There's my resume. No, I'll enter the private sector and see what happens.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for doing
Thank
this. A long